Oh, lovely.
That was quite a nice one.
It was quite nice. It was quite soft.
We'll love to hear it.
Welcome back to the Lights Out podcast. I'm back here again with my two best friends in the whole world, James and Jack. How are you guys doing?
It only took you like 17 years to meet us.
Yeah, I'm fine.
And how worth it it's been so far. They said that good things come to those who wait, and that is me right now.
I've had lots of feedback about the podcast.
Yeah, I've had a lot of feedback, a lot of it including James. Not to point any fingers.
Yeah,
but.
On that note, we are looking for a replacement for James.
No, not yet. He's on things.
Applications are in.
Me and George are starting our own podcast, remember?
Oh, right, okay, whatever. We don't need you then. No, but welcome back to the Lights Out podcast. How have you guys been in the past week? Have you continued to drink?
No, I don't drink now.
Oh, you don't drink anymore? You're off it.
Literally just spend all my time at the gym.
Very good positive change in your life. What about you?
I've been really busy. Course, work and stuff.
I've been quite busy as well. I am so excited for today's guest. Do you want to tell us who it is?
Yeah, it's my father.
My dad.
It is John Lewin. Also known as Jack's dad, and I'm very excited. He's brought a little list of things to talk about.
Yeah, he's got so much. From the conception of this podcast, I was like, I need to get my dad on the show.
Yeah,
he's got so many stories.
We said it first episode, and we were thinking about doing it as like a calling interview on like Skype or something. But I'm so glad
because my parents rarely come up because obviously I live so far away.
Yeah, so I'm so glad that we managed to
get them.
Even better than the
Jack's
ghost
dad on.
stories. It'll be the embarrassing stories that you can tell us about Jack.
Yeah, sure. Well, not sure. Should we get him in to see what he's got to say?
Let's get him in.
Okay, cool. Welcome, Mr. Lewin.
Hello, I hope I can live up to expectations with that build-up.
Oh, you're already doing better than Jack.
So, I've heard that you have listened to an episode of the podcast. What do you think about Jack's involvement on it?
I thought it was pretty good, actually, I must admit. I don't very often see or hear my son sort of on camera or over the airwaves or whatever.
Yeah, because we're not allowed to do FaceTime in the house.
Oh.
It's just audio.
I see.
Mum won't allow it. She doesn't like being on the camera, which is why she's not on the camera with us today.
Well, Jack's definitely minimum second best person on this podcast.
Cheers, mate. Don't need to put yourself down, though.
No problem. So, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. And I'm just going to run through a couple of the things that I like to ask first before we get you to tell us your story, which you've very happily prepared for us, which I'm very excited to hear about. Just give us a little bit about yourself, just at all.
I'm John Lewin, Jack's dad, from Kettering down in Northamptonshire.
Kettering Town.
What can I tell you? Went down to Plymouth Polytechnic when I was about Jack's age. Electronic engineer by trade.
And you travelled the world?
Took a year out to travel the world.
Cool.
Almost, not as much as James by the sound of it, but I've travelled a few places. And,
this is James in like 10 years' time.
Yeah. Well, 5 years
I'm happy about that.
Okay, so you're not particularly religious.
Not particularly, I wouldn't say so, no.
Do you think that you have to be religious to believe in ghosts?
No, I don't think you do, no.
You think that it could be two separate things?
Yes, definitely.
Would you describe yourself as an atheist or perhaps an agnostic, or do you not really like to?
Agnostic, I guess.
Agnostic.
Yeah.
Same as Big Jack. Nice.
Big Jack.
All your
Big
kids,
Jack.
have all the Lewin boys been christened or baptised?
Well,
that's a bit of a sore point, really, because Jack's brother Sam was christened and Jack wasn't.
Is it your younger brother?
Oh.
No, my older brother.
Older, okay.
Why have you not told us about this?
3 years older. I must have told you.
Well,
shut up.
I wasn't christened until I was 7 or something.
I think I was christened. I'm not sure. Nothing's ever like come about it. I think I've got pictures of me being held and being like dipped.
Yeah, my niece isn't being christened.
My brother was christened, but I wasn't. But I'm not.
My sister was christened, but I wasn't. I was always
Keeping
told
it in the family. Then.
turn into a werewolf, or just be careful if you're walking over gravestones if you've not been christened.
Well, wasn't it you can't get married in the Church of England if you're not christened?
Yeah.
Is it that?
That's right.
And you can't be like a godparent either.
Oh. Story time. Can you give us your first one, the biggest one, whatever's there, the meatiest story?
Okay, I've just got a couple really and a few anecdotal ones, but my own personal one was it would have been around about 1998 on a dark winter's evening, driving back from I'd been to night school studying bricklaying of all things, and I was driving from Kettering to Corby, going down a hill halfway between the two towns, and in an old Morris Minor. You guys wouldn't know what they are, but
James seems to know, but he is pretty old. So
I've also watched Top Gear.
So kind of about 9:30 at night, very dark, just going down the hill, and as I approached the railway bridge, going under the railway bridge, I kind of just passing under the bridge, and I glanced up into the mirror, and got a bit of a surprise because there was somebody sitting on the back seat of the Morris Minor, and I knew that when I left I was the only one in the car, so but it was kind of a hooded figure, sort of almost like from medieval times.
Did they have a face?
Well, it was a male's face, but it was kind of a brown sort of shrouded sort of hood, what have you, and the hair stood up on the back of my neck, and
oh my God,
carry on driving, and I kind of like tentatively, I don't believe this, and
turned yourself.
When I turned round, they'd gone, but I know I hadn't imagined it.
Oh my God!
So yeah, that was pretty scary, and afterwards, when I told my gran, who was alive at the time, and she said, yes, there's been quite a lot of reports of sightings of ghosts there, which I'd never heard of before.
Oh my God.
I might, if we cut this bit, there's like on the internet, if I find it, Barford Bridge ghost. There's been lots of different ones.
When you starting to believe?
Well,
right. So
I've definitely got an opinion about that.
So this is the same bridge, and you didn't know anything about this, did you?
I didn't know, and I guess I was prior to that. I was pretty open-minded, but bordering on the sceptical side. I guess.
It's like most haunted roads, and the first one is Barford Bridge in Northamptonshire.
Oh.
And it says the bridge between Kettering and Corby is allegedly haunted by the ghost of a bearded monk.
Which is
I think there was a priory at a place called Pitwell or Pikewell, which is a village a couple of miles away from there. Yeah.
And it says there have been numerous spirit sightings on the A6003. In 1984, a police sergeant and a woman both reported seeing the bearded man's face in their rearview mirror. I've literally got goosebumps.
Whoa!
I've never heard this.
What?
I haven't heard
Wait,
this.
whoa,
You're making it up.
Read that again.
You're making
It's
it
an
up.
actual article.
James, go back. Go back to your mic. Go back to your mic.
October 2017. The British roads were drivers, blah blah blah.
Have you not heard of those stories?
I've heard the stories, but you're having a laugh.
bridge
I've not
between
heard that before.
Kettering and Corby is alleged haunted by a ghost of a bearded monk.
Ooh,
There's been numerous sightings on the A6003. In 1984, a police sergeant and a woman reported seeing a bearded man's face in their rearview mirror.
Did he have a beard?
Whoa!
I couldn't see a beard, but the fact that someone else has experienced in their rearview mirror similar to me, I'd heard of pit sightings, but I hadn't heard that sort of detail.
Oh my
Heard
gosh!
anything before?
That is
happened,
properly
did you?
spooky.
But afterwards, I'd heard about it.
In 2009, Northamptonshire's paranormal investigation team set up a site and reported their unusual drop in temperature, and a loud bang was tied to a spiritual world around this area. Yeah.
I was going to say, I think this is the first story we've had on the podcast where someone's telling it that's happened to themselves. That they've seen something.
It's the first time we've got a good guess.
well, I won't say that much.
Thank you, Jack.
But when we had Eleanor on, it was a story about her sister doing something when she was young and she can't remember. With Cole, it was something.
He was younger.
He was younger, couldn't remember, and also he didn't see anything. It was just him saying that he could remember things about his grandma that he shouldn't have known. And then with Aidan and Matthew, Aidan told us a story about him and his grandma, but it was more about the grandma than it was for him. This is the first time we've had someone on who was old enough and can actually remember seeing something themselves. That is and that story as well. After you've come up with that is really scary.
It's weird that. Have you ever read that article before, Jack? Or that just you searching it?
Yeah, because I've researched it. I've read that article, but Dad didn't.
I've never heard of it. That's a bit uncanny.
But then you just said
that's crazy.
Yourself. It was a rear view mirror. It was under a bridge. It was between.
Well, it was the same bridge.
So it's the most haunted road in the UK. It was on that list.
Is it?
No.
Is it just?
I don't know if it's most haunted road.
Oh, right, well, it's one of them. It's known for being haunted.
Yeah.
And the thing that's it's known for being haunted about is seeing people in the rear view mirror.
Yeah, a hooded figure.
Maybe that's just where ghosts hitchhike on that road.
Maybe, yeah.
It's a very high ghost hitchhiking spot.
But is Corby or Kettering famous for that during the medieval times of monks and?
Not really, no.
No, not that I'm aware of.
In fact, I don't really think that many people would know that story.
Probably not.
People would just drive most people wouldn't know about the sightings.
Yeah, I know a bit about Mitcham Priory, but I don't know enough to talk about it.
I know within Northamptonshire, obviously Mary Queen of Scots was beheaded at Fotheringham, and at Oundle there's a pub called the Talbot, and there's been sightings of a headless woman sort of floating up and down the stairs, and Oundle is quite close to Fotheringhay, so that's the only other kind of...
It doesn't exist though, does it, the Fotheringhay Castle?
It doesn't now, no. I think it's just been pillaged for local buildings and what have you, but I think there's a stone
That's a
left.
shame.
That is a proper good story that you just said that's happened to you.
There's many more on this list.
Oh my gosh.
That's the last one.
I wouldn't say there's many. I've got a couple that you were saying about, not directly, so my sister and my dad have told me recently about some stories, which I can share with you if you're interested.
We'll get to that. Just before we do, I just wanted to ask you the question. You obviously just told us that story, and you said that you weren't particularly religious. You consider yourself more of an agnostic, but you don't think that you have to be religious to believe in ghosts. Do you believe that was? Do you think that maybe something just weird was happening that can be explained away, or do you really believe that was something that happened?
Like 6:30 in the morning, and you just randomly saw something,
or
you're hallucinating.
I don't know. I think obviously it was weird to happen, and real enough to me at the time, very scary. But I'm a firm believer that there's a dimension that we don't quite understand, that we can't. They say that's only part of your brain, sort of 10%, 15% we use.
Yeah, we open. Yeah.
So I think there's like spirit world and sort of some kind of ESP and psychic phenomenon out there. Yeah, but I don't think it needs to be linked to religion particularly.
No, yeah.
I've never looked at it that way though. Because we only use 15% of our brain, in theory. What happens if the other 75% gives us the ability to see ghosts, to interact with that aspect of it?
Yeah, I don't know. Something that I've not really first of all, it'd be 85%, but
yeah, I didn't think he was too good on his maths.
No,
yeah, I didn't even hear what I was saying.
I just spent about 10 seconds just making sure that my maths was right before I said it, and then sounded myself like an idiot. Okay, well, no, that's really interesting, and I think that's definitely the best story we've had so far. That was properly good. We're going to get mad views now. Yeah. Thank you so much, John.
We'll make it clickbait.
Yeah. Do you want to hit us with another one, or have you guys got something that you want to share, and then we'll come back to John in a bit?
Not going to lie to you. I haven't got any stories this week.
You failure.
We're trying to be Welsh then.
So to that, I will transition back to our guest, John, and to ask if he's got any more stories to share.
I don't know if it's a bombshell, but I was speaking to my sister a little while ago, and she said she was on her way back from work, again in Northamptonshire, and a dark night, driving past Grafton Underwood, which is where an old American air base used to be.
Grafton Underwood.
Approaching, and there's a link to, what's her name?
Bridget Jones.
Bridget Jones, yes. Her parents were in Grafton Underwood. Yeah. Anyway, that's a slight aside. So yeah, as she was approaching Double Bend near a place called Walkton. She saw kind of an old man on the bend in the corner, but it was more of a ghost than a man. And she kind of had to swerve to miss him and what have you.
Did she crash her car?
She did. That wasn't on that occasion.
She's just a bad driver.
She is a bad driver, yeah. But what kind of reinforces this, because she's a bit sketty, she could have imagined it, but her friend Heather, when my sister Sandra went back to work the next day, she said, "Oh, Heather, when I came home from work," and Heather stopped and says, "I know what you're going to say."
Yeah.
I saw it as well. There was this figure as I was going around the bend and what have you. It was almost, but it wasn't. I don't think it was just walking. It was like floating. So that's two separate people who'd seen it. If it was my sister, I'd thought, but with two
yeah,
people,
it's the same with me. As soon as someone says a story like that, it's like, well, skeptical. But then as soon as you get a second person's thing and it's the exact same account, it's like that's when it's like, oh, something happened. Because it must have been something, whether it was spooky or not.
Imagine it as like fog, sort of mist kind of figure. Is that the sort of thing?
Well, she said it was more sort of like kind of half and half, I think. But my slightly another story, if I may.
Go continue.
My dad and my stepmom. This was only about 5 years ago. They were going over a bridge in a village, similar village, Walkton actually, and they're driving over the bridge. And my dad's. He doesn't believe, he's sceptical, he's definitely an atheist and what have you. Anyway, they were driving over this bridge, Humpback Bridge, and he kind of saw this white figure sort of floating over the bridge, and floating down again, like almost like it was trying to avoid being hit by them, so it was moving away. I don't know whether it was a Casper type figure, but,
Right.
but a mature version. But
Yeah.
and then as I got over the bridge, he kind of looked at my stepmom, and she looked at him, and without him saying anything, she said to her, "Did you just see that as well?" And so that was very real for them as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah.
Is that the same location as Sandra's?
It's not the same location, but it's within a mile or so not that far away.
A lot of car-related
And
ghost
bridge
incidents,
related.
Yeah.
bridge-related ghost incidents.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
I know where I'm not driving through anytime.
Yeah, when we go to Corby to come visit where you live, will I take the train? I think there's no way I'm driving
Do you
down
have
those
trains
roads.
in Corby?
The train goes over the bridge though. That
Oh,
we go, whether we go
even
under,
worse.
so
Well,
you might see something
Barford
above the
Bridge is
bridge.
the train station.
We'll get a bus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
What's the main industry in Corby? Is it?
Well, it was
used to be a
steel.
steelworks.
Yeah.
Steel worker.
So, Samuel L. Weatherspoons.
Yeah. That's right. No, what would you say? I'd say
What's the population of Corby?
tertiary industry.
60,000.
What is that?
What, like retail?
Service
Service
industry.
distribution.
Yeah.
Once the steelworks.
But yeah, it was massive steelworks.
62,000.
Well,
I said about 60,000, didn't
Yeah,
I?
I'll give you that.
Who's that?
It's probably
Right.
quite a lot more now, I'd say.
Jack tells us all the time about how it's like 1/3 Scottish people.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so many people migrated down from Scotland, particularly
Mm.
Glasgow, for the steelworks. Yeah.
Do you think Scotland's more haunted than England? Because I feel like there's like a lot of castles there, a lot of history. Obviously, there's a lot of history in England as well, but I don't know. It's just more like meadowy. I don't know.
Yes.
I
It's only
feel
more-
like some places have like higher density of stories.
You get the impression it'd be more misty and atmospheric
Yeah,
sort of conducive to.
Exactly. Okay, well, I've got a story that I can tell.
Is it about Casper?
No, it's about one of my cousin's houses. I say cousin. She's like, do you guys have those people in your life that are like quite close to you, in like family-wise, but they're actually not family whatsoever?
Yeah, I don't call him my cousin though.
Do you not?
That's called my mate.
Oh right, no. We've got like my mum's best friends that she's like grown up with her whole life.
So your auntie.
Well, no.
That's where you're going with
'cause-
this?
Yeah. So we call her Auntie Vanessa, and she's got a child.
Vanessa Jenkins.
Well, no. And she's got a child called Georgia, so I call her cousin Georgia, even though we're not actually related. Anyway, so cousin Georgia lives in Salford. I think now I don't know the names of places around Salford. I'm new here, but I'm not entirely sure where she lives now, or if she still lives with her mum, or if she's got her own place. But obviously when she was younger, she lived with her mum, and her dad sadly passed away, and so it was just them two for a long time, and they had like quite a lot of pets. I think they had like 3 dogs, and they were all really cute.
What
But-
breeds?
Sorry?
What breeds?
I think one was a bulldog, and then I think the other 2 were terriers, but they were like brother and sister, and they were really cute.
But they weren't really brother and sister, but they'd known each other.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. They knew each other for the same amount of time as a brother and sister, so they just called themselves that. It was like sorry, go on.
This is like if you had a dog
Right.
and like a kid, would you say like brother and the dog and the kid are brother and sister?
Oh no, I don't think so.
Why?
Because I had young dogs when I was a kid, and I never said like brother. Would like
parents call
I'd be like-
the dog her kid?
no, because I feel like you always call like you always say that you're like the dad, or I would say I'm the dad of the dog that I own.
But then
So-
in theory, wouldn't if you had a kid, wouldn't it be your brother's?
Yeah,
Well,
we do
no.
that. I'd say I'm like a sibling of the cats.
I used to get cards. Do you get birthday and Christmas cards from your cat?
From my cat, no.
Yeah. Oh, do you not do that?
Do the cats
My
get
mum's just
Christmas
weird then.
presents?
Cats can't write, James.
Yeah, my mum just writes in
Cats
there.
do
and puts
get
them all-
Christmas presents. That's
Yeah.
confirmed.
The cats get Christmas. Our
Yeah,
dogs,
you get
our
in
dogs
the, you
got
get in the
Christmas
little
presents.
stocking. Do you get in that? No. Oh.
We
I used
just
to get my cat a little stocking.
we
and my
just
dog.
we just wrapped up a bone for our dogs this year. Anyway,
So cousin Georgia is not
Yeah.
really cousin Georgia.
cousin Georgia, not really cousin Georgia, has a mansion. Well, had a mansion. It was
In
huge. Like
Salford, I doubt it.
yeah, no, actually, it was like a really big house. And it was only her and her mum that lived in it. But it was like I think it was 4 stories high. It was quite slim. It was like a semi-detached, but it was really really high. And I remember whenever we went there, me and Izzy would always stay in the attic room. Izzy's my little sister, and my older sister, who was Georgia's age, would hang around with Georgia in the living room.
Yeah.
because they could stay up longer. So one night when the parents went out into Salford or maybe into Manchester for a drink and maybe something to eat and left the kids by themselves, it would have been me and my little sister, my older sister hanging around with Georgia and her mates that were in Salford that we didn't know. So me and my sister would just play around with the dogs, and then when we wanted to go to sleep, which would be quite early, would go up to the attic. And then this night, this is the story that Els told me, this is where I'll pick it up from here. One night when we all stayed in George's old house, and you and Iz got made to sleep on the top floor, and I had this weird feeling with my friend Emma and a few of George's friends, and then noticed all the dogs and cats weren't in the living room no more. She's from Manchester, so she speaks a bit weird. And I instantly had this stomach-dropping feeling to check on you, and ran upstairs with a boyfriend of George's at the time, and you and Izzy were both upstairs asleep on the bed with all the covers off, and all 3 dogs and 2 cats looking at you from around the bed, when the cats and dogs would never go to the top floor, and you had to really try and convince them to go up there, and most of the time you would just leave it because they hated going up to the top floor. And I got so spooked, we carried you both downstairs to be in the living room with us until the adults got home. And obviously I was asleep, so I can't confirm this story, but what I can confirm is that even though she might have been maybe exaggerating that they were like sat around, maybe they were just in the room, I'll tell you right now, those dogs did not go up there, ever. Because me and my sister would try and get them up there to come with us and just like pet them. They wouldn't, they would go up to the first floor, which is where like the mum of the house stayed, because they would sleep in her room. They would not go above that. They didn't like going up the stairs, and we never knew why. So I believe that it would have been really weird for them to see that the dogs were in there, and that me and Izzy were asleep with all the... I hated that room so much. I used to cry when they used to make me stay up there because I thought it was haunted. There was a rocking chair in the room that just used to rock.
You didn't have a great
when no one was sat in it. Well, no, this house was just scary. Like, we should go there one time for a podcast, maybe.
But you don't believe in ghosts.
I've said this before. I didn't say I think it was haunted. Well, I think I just said it right then. When I was a kid, I mean. Like, when I was a kid, I would say something was haunted, but if someone was like, I saw a ghost, I would be like, well, maybe not.
Any house that didn't have people living in was haunted, like an abandoned house, you were like, oh,
or just a really big house with not enough people in it.
Yeah, like, where I worked at summer camp, there was like a abandoned house, it's like upstate New York.
Yeah,
and literally
must be haunted.
Yeah, it was like, oh, it's just haunted, and I was like, no, it's just a rundown house.
Yeah, fair enough. So what do you guys think about that? Dogs being haunted.
Well, they say that dogs and cats have like a sixth sense, don't they? Like, have you ever watched dogs with like newborn babies?
No.
Okay. They're like proper like delicate around them.
They're like
their own little dog.
Well, there was that thing going around. Did you see that? You can
husky?
You can put an egg in a dog's mouth, and it knows how delicate it is, and it doesn't like it bite down. It treats it really like calmly, and then it puts it on the floor really, like. And then I was like, maybe that's just like someone's taught the dogs to do that. So I got my dog, who had probably never seen an egg, put an egg in its mouth. I didn't like force its mouth open. I was just like, have this, and it just went like that. And I put it in its mouth, and I just went on a little stroll with it in its mouth. Didn't crack it or anything. Dogs just know how delicate things are. I think. I'm not sure if it's like a spooky thing.
Dogs don't lay eggs, do they?
No, dogs don't lay eggs. What are you talking about? No, of course they don't.
No,
What do you mean? Well, they're mammals, aren't they? Mammals don't lay eggs.
True.
Wait, was that a genuine question? I thought you were joking.
No.
I didn't do a very good.
Yeah, I was.
I was just confused. Why would you?
Dogs
why would a dog
never listen? Have you not seen 101 Dalmatians?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's
weird because dogs probably don't come into contact with eggs that often.
Yeah.
Or at least my dogs haven't. Maybe dogs in the wild come into contact with eggs often. Maybe they're just like, oh, we know what that is. We'll leave it till it's a bit grown up and then I can eat it better. But like my dogs would have never seen an egg because they've lived in our house the whole time.
Yeah.
And so you put an egg in a dog's mouth, and it's just instincts. It just knows that it's delicate.
I've heard that as well.
That's not really ghosts.
I've never heard it.
But it makes you wonder. I mean, obviously dogs and cats have much more sensitive smell and hearing.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder whether they can also perceive other things that we can't. But
well, you get like dogs barking at random things, which could be like a paranormal, them seeing ghosts or things.
Yeah.
You're never gonna know.
Yeah, like a lot. I know a lot of stories that people say about like dogs like seeing things and then just starting barking at a specific part of the house that they always bark at, but there's nothing there.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I experimented with our old spaniel to see whether yawns are contagious. I know they are between humans, but I wondered whether they were for dogs.
What are you yawning?
So yawning in front of the dog, and after about 3 minutes it yawned, but it was probably thinking, stupid human. I don't know.
Maybe. Do you think dogs like? I don't know. Do you think dogs think that we're more intelligent than them, or do you think that they think that we're just like the same as them?
I reckon dogs are happy to exist with us. Cats are just
Well, you got
Dickheads.
a big cat lover here.
Who?
We've got
Jack.
two big
Jack
cat
hates
lovers
dogs.
in the room.
Do you actually like cats that much?
Yeah.
Why? I've grown up with cats all my life.
We were
But I'd
talking
rather
about this
have
on the way here,
dogs.
weren't we?
Hmm.
I was saying
Cats are independent. Like, they don't need
yeah,
you.
I know, but everyone loves dogs. It's boring.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I love dogs. Dogs are way better. I'm
Plus,
just putting it out
cats
there. It's
are
not
cute,
really much of
so-
an opinion.
So
Dogs are
you
cute.
You have cats and dogs,
Dad,
I was raised with cats and dogs. Yeah,
but
yeah.
you prefer cats now.
I do, yeah.
yeah.
I quite like cats. I wouldn't rather have a cat for like a million. I'd much rather have a dog. But my parents actually hate cats. Like they're just the worst scum animals ever. And my dad's going to be a guest on this show, I think, at some point in the future, so you can have that out with him.
Well, they just bring in mice. They're just like they scratch you.
Yeah, but dogs are like
I know someone
they
that
slobber and you have to take them for walks. Cats suit themselves.
Okay, so that was my story gone about the cats and dogs sitting around the bed. Have you got any more for us, John?
Oh wait, I have some. My old PE teacher used to walk his cat like on a leash.
What?
Really?
Would you do that?
Is that a thing?
Yeah, my mum used to.
Is that an actual thing?
Yeah, with Jemima when she was a kitten.
How about that? Okay. Have you got any more stories for us, John?
I know when I was a child, we got a friend, David, and he was really into kind of hypnosis and astro projection and Ouija boards and what have you.
Rennie doesn't believe in hypnosis, so.
Well, we'll get to that.
We
We'll
were
get to that.
speaking
We
about
were
it.
playing with the Ouija board in the shed. There were
Mhm.
four of us, my sister, David and his sister, so four of us. And I guess I was 8 or 9, something like that. And we were sort of calling out and asking questions and fingers on the glass and
Yeah.
moving. And then we'd asked a question, and then right out of the blue was a crash of thunder as the glass sort of went off the table. Now, whether that was just coincidence, I don't know. You could say, we've triggered something or something happened.
So
I don't know, but that was a bit spooky.
So you heard thunder and then the glass, fell over?
No, the glass,
Oh,
Moved
moved
off.
Right,
And
right.
as
With
it-
all your fingers still on it?
yeah, and as
Right.
it moved at speed off the table, before it even hit the ground, there's a clap of thunder,
Right.
which was kind of spooked us.
Was
a
it
bit.
raining already,
Yeah.
or was it just a random clap of thunder?
No, it wasn't raining. It was a summer's day.
And
Summer's, I think.
who was it? Who was it around the Ouija board with the fingers on the glass?
All four of us.
So that's you
children.
and
My
your
sister.
3 siblings.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
very interesting.
That's why we need to do one.
I think we should.
Not in. Would you do it in here, or
I-
would you
I-
want to go somewhere haunted?
My family will actually kill me if I do one.
What?
They're literally all like, you can't touch that, and I'm just like, yeah, well, right, well, I don't believe that it's going to do anything. So then if it does anything, then I'll be on your side, and then from now on, like,
Someone else has to sit there.
yeah, exactly. Then someone else will have to sit here, and I'll be on your side, be like, no, it's real, I promise. I experienced it.
I've lived a good life.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe like I really want to do it. Because I find it really interesting.
Do you still have an Ouija? A Ouija board?
No,
Okay.
I don't. But then there was another.
Amazon.
There was another unusual experience. I guess I was about 11 or 12, and me and some friends jumped on a train and went up to Nottingham during the
Yeah.
school holidays. And we were walking around Nottingham Castle, and there was a museum underneath the. Nottingham Castle's got kind of caves and what have you.
Right.
I understand the concept.
And,
of it, yeah.
Dungeons.
We were kind of in this museum underneath, and just looking at the exhibits and what have you. And I just looked across, and I could see a death certificate, and the name on it was John Lewin, which was a bit. I thought, oh, that's my name.
In the caves in
that's me.
Nottingham.
Yeah. In this museum, and
Right.
I don't know why the death certificate was there, but what was really spooky was I looked at the date of death,
Oh no.
and it was 18th December 1866. I was born 18th December 1966.
1866.
I've aged well, yeah. But no, this person with the same name as me
Yeah.
had died 100 years to the day that I was born. And I
Yeah.
thought, what are the chances of that? I know it's...
And you seeing it?
So I
Your
suppose-
name's not very common either.
It's not that
Sure,
common,
well,
no. So I don't
okay,
know
how
whether
many
that's
people have you heard
something
called
to do with
Lewin?
reincarnation
Yeah,
or
okay.
what. But that kind
Well,
of
that's the
was
sort of.
really eerie.
I feel like I've heard 2 different versions of the sort of reincarnation thing, which is the people who think that like the light that you see. I think you mentioned this in one of the
light
podcasts.
last light you see is the first one you see when you're being born.
Right. So do you think it's like a loop,
No.
or like that's what that means?
No, I believe in heaven.
Right. So I've heard also some people say that, and this is the one that I've sort of looked into more about me. Obviously, people are being born and dying like all the time, like every how many seconds someone's born and and also how many seconds someone's died. So obviously the day that I was born, on the 2nd of February 2001, so many people have probably died that day. And so you can look up like the dates of death of people, or like who died on this day. So I don't know, I feel like I've also heard that some people think that when you die, obviously reincarnation, you turn into another human, like what you said. It was a bit creepy that that guy death certificate was your name from your birthday, but 100 years before. I don't know, that's still a bit creepy.
I think it'd be creepy just seeing my name on a death certificate.
It did. Yeah. Again, that made the hair stand up on the back of my head. So this is
just John Lewin. Just
John Lewin. Yeah. And I don't have a middle name, and this death certificate didn't have a middle name.
And that's not that common, is it? I think like most people have middle names.
Maybe he wasn't christened as well.
Well, maybe he was agnostic as well. Maybe he was driving through Nottingham and looked in his wing mirror and saw someone behind him with long hair and hoodie on. Yeah, I don't know. Have you got anything else? I've got one final ending topic, but if you've got any other stories, I want to get them all in one go.
What's the one?
But if you've not, then don't worry about it.
Ghost, the like skeleton thing.
Well, yes.
No,
well,
you can do that one, or you can choose one. Oh, is that?
Yeah, when I was
travel.
Well,
when I was a child, I say the story about the monk in the Morris Minor under the bridge is so real to me. So that happened. I'm convinced there was someone in there in the back of the car. But this one is more a bit sketchy, and I don't know whether it was my imagination or because a child had planted a fear that somebody had been murdered sort of in some woods near where we lived. But I walked across the field at the end of our road, and there was a spinney of trees. And a favourite tree we used to play on, an ash tree, which was kind of hooped over and a rope and that. And someone had told me that someone had been murdered up there. And I guess I was about 8, when kids could roam a bit more freely. Times were different, and sort of wandered up there and saw a skeleton hanging from this tree by a rope, like round the neck,
like a noose.
But there was kind of blood.
Right.
So it wasn't just a skeleton; there was flesh on it as well. But I honestly, I wouldn't be able to say that was definite, or whether it was a figment of my imagination. But
that would be quite an imaginative thing to like.
That's the thing though. Like, there must be so many kids that have stories like that, but you're just like, oh, you're just a kid. Like, maybe it's just you watch something different. Yeah,
so you'll never know whether it's just kids' imagination or if like kids are more intact with that like other realm.
It felt very real to me at that age as a child, but as I've kind of got older, I thought, no, I couldn't have seen that. I must have just forced that in my imagination when I looked at the tree.
Did you tell anyone at the time?
I didn't know. It's the first time I've actually mentioned it.
Oh my gosh! Ooh, world exclusive of a story. How honoured I feel.
Near Halloween, was it?
Sorry,
how honoured I feel to be the first to hear that story.
It
wasn't Halloween.
No, and you wouldn't have had Halloween decorations back then, would you?
No,
really?
Not in a random tree.
Yeah.
Did you ever have like nightmares or anything after that because of that situation?
Not nightmares about that. No, I used to have really weird dreams about not so much ghost related, but I don't know if you've heard of a children's series called The Clangers, where you have.
I have not.
Yeah, James knows.
And the landscape's like the moon and what have you. But for some weird reason, you'll think this is really crazy. But if I went to sleep as a child and was facing the wall to the left, I'd always have this same dream that I'd be floating on a raft down onto this planet that was like a dual planet to Earth. So the street was the same as my street, but it wasn't like vegetation and fertile. It was actually barren. It was like the moon, and all the houses were on stilts. This sounds really weird.
No.
But the weird thing was, and the people were the same, but they were just everything was good. There were people. There was no bad side to any people.
Oh right.
But if I went to sleep facing the right, I wouldn't have that dream. So
is that just because the last thing you see at night is like the white wall?
No, I don't think so. But it sounds really like I'm on drugs or something as a child. But no,
that can be the.
It was a reoccurring dream.
Like the effects of taking LSD.
Yeah, but not for like a couple of weeks. That lasted sort of several months, almost a year or so. I'd have these dreams.
Reoccurring dreams. I've never had reoccurring dreams.
But I had like forced ones.
Forced ones.
Like where you're forcing yourself to have like a what you want in life kind of thing. I used to dream like being a footballer and stuff when I was younger.
Right.
And, like you just have the same recurring dream.
What? Because you would realise you were dreaming and then sort of try and make it into that.
No, like
I can
you
never
think
do
about it before you go to sleep, like before you're dreaming. But then you dream like so many times. Like each dream actually only lasts for like 30 seconds. Yeah. And you only remember the dreams when you wake up.
Yeah,
like you wouldn't remember the one dream you had because you don't actually know the perception of time when you're dreaming.
The only reoccurring dream I know of is my older sister, Elle, had this reoccurring dream that she was trying to escape a forest. And she was like running through the forest, and obviously every dream was slightly different, but it was the same theme of she was running through a forest trying to get out of it. And she never told me about it. I think she told my mum about it or something, because she was like, she didn't like it. Like, it used to scare her. She didn't want to go to sleep because of it, because she didn't want to have the dream where she was stuck in a forest again. And I heard about it when it had finally finished. And like, obviously your dreams are just like your imagination, but your imagination just like in real life, because it's trying to like act as if it is real life, it needs like closure. So if you're having a dream where you're running through a forest trying to find the end of it, that dream's gonna keep coming back until you actually reach the end. And then the first time I heard about it is when she like walked through into the kitchen in the morning one day, and she was really relieved, and she was like almost in tears, like talking to my mum about how happy she was, because in her dream, her reoccurring dream that she would have, I think like a long time, like months, like she found the exit, like escaped the forest.
But I've had like the same concept, like it's not like a nightmare because it doesn't scare, because obviously I know it's a dream now.
Mm-hmm.
But like waking up or like having the same dream, like you're waking up and like, oh, I'm just in this dream, like knowing if you go back to sleep you're gonna have that recurring dream, so I just like distract myself. Yeah. Kind of concept. But isn't that based on like what is it? Freddy Krueger?
Right.
Do you know the movie?
Yeah.
Cause that's
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, that's like scared to go to sleep because you're gonna have the same recurring dream.
Right. That's like I've had bad dreams that are similar, but never like the same thing. I
used to be scared of worms when I was younger, and apparently would have reoccurring dreams about worms killing me. It probably led to my snake phobia.
Talking about something that you're scared of, the last segment that I like to do. If you've got any other stories, I'd love to hear them, but I'm not sure how we're doing for time. If you guys are ready to go, but last thing, unless anyone else wants to mention something, is I just wanted to ask something I want to start asking everyone is what's your biggest fear, or what you're most scared of?
Being buried alive.
Oh. I don't like that one. I hate that.
That's probably the worst way to go, I think.
Yeah, I think I had a thing of claustrophobia when I was a kid, and I've still kind of got it. And I think it started because I watched a film and someone was buried alive, and I was just like,
is it called
I
Ryan
just
Reynolds
hated
Buried?
it. No.
Have you watched that? Ryan Reynolds movie Buried?
No.
But
worst movie I've ever seen.
You don't want to be cremated, do you? You want to be buried.
I did want to be cremated, but bizarrely I've changed my mind. But just make sure I'm really dead before they put me in the coffin.
Get one of those bells.
There was a time that the time where I was like, I want to be cremated. I don't want to like. It was because of the same thing. I was like, I'm so afraid of being buried alive that I would rather just 100% make sure just burn me and then I'll be fine. But obviously I'm quite young now, so I don't know how I'm going to feel when I'm older. But
I don't like the idea of being
depends
buried.
on how you die.
Yeah, I'm not that sure I'm being buried. Maybe just a nice urn somewhere.
Okay. Well, can you tell us the fruit bowl? Because I actually haven't heard it. Story.
Oh, we got a final.
No, it's obscure.
Story.
It's nothing to do with ghosts. But yeah, again, a similar age when I was a child, having these dreams facing the wall about this parallel sort of world. Sometimes I'd go to sleep and I couldn't get to sleep because I could visualise a huge fruit bowl, crystal cut fruit bowl, levitating above my head. Right. And I'm kind of like terrified that it's going to fall on me, and I can't move, and I'm almost like paralysed sort of as a child looking at this. That's it, really. Nothing more than that.
It wasn't
there. Was it? Bit weird. It wasn't there, but I could see it there in my mind's eye before I went, and it would stop me sleeping sometimes.
Oh my god.
Weird.
Did Jack ever like sleepwalk or sleep talk as a child, or still? Sorry.
Has anything creepy ever happened about Jack?
Not that I recall. He's never really slept-walked, neither him or his brother.
No. I have slept-talked before, but
I got told I did it the other day.
What, slept-talked or walked?
Talked.
Yeah.
Hopefully don't walk.
My sister used to sleepwalk and sleep talk in Spanish because obviously she probably learnt Spanish before she learnt English. But
do you dream in Spanish?
I've had a couple of dreams in Spanish. I think Izzy used to before she moved to an English school for secondary school. So when she was in primary school, she would solely dream in Spanish, but it's because she had like mainly Spanish friends. So
when you think now, do you think in Spanish or just English?
Oh no, English.
Or does it just depend on the people you're with?
I speak Spanish the same way that an English person that's learned French speaks French. It's not that deep.
Would you speak Spanish to Hannah and
Marina when they came?
Yeah. Would you speak Spanish primarily to them?
My friends who came around from Spain.
Sorry, there you go. There's a shout out.
Well, Hannah is from the UK and is the same as me. So we could if other people were there and we wanted to talk and no one else understand, we could speak in Spanish, but we wouldn't speak in Spanish.
You spoke about Spanish the other day, and I was just like, I have no clue.
Yeah, no. But
she's from that county in the north of England.
I try and speak Spanish to people who I encounter that are Spanish, but other than that, no, I'm just fully English.
But is Marina primarily Spanish?
Marina is Spanish.
Yeah. She's from Lancaster.
But now she's going to Lancaster Uni because she went to an English school where she met as well.
Unfortunately.
Anyway, there's their shout out. Yeah, Hannah, on the first episode I mentioned that only one person listened to it live at the right time or at the wrong time when it came out on the wrong time on Utter. And it was Hannah, so there's her shout out.
Happy birthday, Hannah, as well for the other day.
Happy birthday, yes. The day before yesterday, Hannah. Well, what a shout out.
Feliz cumpleaños.
What a long shout out. She's going to be chuffed if she listens to it, which I doubt she will.
If she gets this far in, after hearing the fruit bowl story.
Time to switch off when you hear the fruit bowl story. Yeah.
And time to switch the podcast off. So let's end it here.
Okay,
but we're going to have a great time. Thank you guys for coming back again. And thank you very much for our very special guest, John Lewin, who had some of the best stories I've heard so far on this podcast.
What's your brother called?
Sam.
Okay, I was going to say, was just going with J's, but...
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Ghosts, for being here. You can now leave. And we'll see you all next time.
Thank you for United beating City.
Thank you.